We've spent over 10 years on air, shaping a generation of action motorsports, and now we're changing the game again. The best motorsports, the best action sports, and the best of pop culture with some epic guests thrown in. I am Jim Beaver, and this is the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Hold on tight, the misadventure is just getting started. What's up, and welcome to this week's edition of the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. This week we are locked, loaded here with a recap of the Mint 400. Actually, we got a ton of shows to drop this week. Got a Supercross special I think we're dropping later in the week. Next week, we got Lacey Blair on in episode number 500. Man, we got some great stuff cranking. Got an interview with Sarah Price coming up. Man, it's full swing. We're out here swinging away, but a lot to loop you in on next week for sure with changes to the show, big future of the show, and we're going to talk about that next week. But I was on site of the Mint 400. Thanks to all of you guys that tuned in to the live stream there on Friday and Saturday out there in Las Vegas. If you're there, awesome to see you in person. If you weren't there, you missed out on an epic event, but I am stoked that all of you tuned in online to the live stream. So today's episode, we're definitely going to dive into talking about the Mint 400. Got Matt Martelli, the kingpin with the Mint 400. He's going to be on the show this week. We're going to recap results, storylines, just the event in general. Man, it was awesome. Kind of preview the California 300, the next big Mad Media event coming up, and a whole hell of a lot more. We got some cool stuff to talk about. I mean, even my boy Tim Montana, yes, friend of the show, friend of mine. Tim Montana made his off-road racing debut in Las Vegas at the Mint 400. Also threw out an amazing concert Thursday night on Fremont Street. But Tim freaking Montana walked away with a victory in his maiden desert race in the 01 Odyssey class. On General Tires, might add. But Tim Montana, an off-road winner, teaming with Jesse Hughes and Axel Hodges. So a big shout-out to Tim Montana. I'm sure we'll have him on the show sometime coming up soon to talk about that and a whole hell of a lot more. But before we jump into talking about the Mint 400, I do want to talk about a couple things that have popped up. Before we jump into talking about our boy Kickstart Kenny walking away with a big victory in Supercross, I got to tell you right now, General Tire, they are throwing down the deals. That is right. Get up to a $70 rebate when you purchase 4 qualifying passenger General Tires. So that's up to a $70 prepaid card you get in the mail by buying some General Tires. You need tires for your ride? Yeah, I know. We probably all do right now. And you know what? General Tires got you locked and loaded with the deals. Up to a $70 rebate when you get some qualifying tires from General Tire. If you want to get in on this deal, if you're tuning in, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're tuning in on my website, jimbeaver15.com, Apple Podcasts, you know what the good news is down in the footnotes of the show. I got a link there for General Tire. Just click that link. Boom. It'll tell you how to get in on this $70 rebate. So this is going on now through April 30th, 2023. So get in on the rebate. If you need some tires for your ride, General Tire's got you dialed in. Don't forget, General Tire delivers. That's right, GT delivers. All right, so moving forward, we got to talk about my boy Kickstart Kenny. Yes, Ken Roczen, the Cinderella story of the 2023 Supercross season. I'm a Cowie guy, you know this, but you know, anytime there's a cool story, I got to have somebody's back. Ken Roczen decided, we all know this, at the beginning of this year, that he was going to ride for Suzuki. Everybody kind of went, pause, what? What are you thinking, Roczen? Are you really, you're going to pick Suzuki? Like, dude, you can get a ride just about anywhere. You're Ken Roczen, right? And he goes, you know, and he said, he goes, this bike, he goes, there's something cool about it. Well, it's a legacy bike, man. This thing hadn't been updated in a couple of years. Everybody else is electric start nowadays. This thing still has a kickstart. Yeah, you know, obviously Kickstart Kenny, you know, one of the only guys in the field with a kickstart bikes still. So he comes out of the box. He's actually had some really good results here because, man, maybe we're going to see a podium out of Kickstart Kenny at some point this year, right? No, what does he do? He goes to Indianapolis this past weekend. He wins the whole freaking thing. Kickstart Kenny on a dated bike, comes in, throw punches the industry, walks away with a big victory on this old Suzuki bike. So not only is this an old bike, literally Suzuki has been so irrelevant in Supercross. It's been 7 years since they've won anything. They started pulling out of motorcycle racing. Very little support to Supercross, quitting their MotoGP program. Like, literally, Suzuki's checked out. Here comes Roczen on a relic and comes in, and he takes a victory. Now I laugh because I checked out the Suzuki social channels, their website. Man, they are praising this thing. Oh, Roczen on this, on his RM 450, dominates the field, this and that. And I just start laughing. I'm like, yeah, going to play it up. Hopefully they give that team a little more money because Roczen is for what he's riding this year, man, this guy is having some phenomenal results. But big shout out to Ken Roczen. It's been 7 years since Suzuki won a race. He did the unthinkable, took a legacy dated bike and won in Supercross competition against the best riders in the world. I mean, and Roczen is one of the best riders in the world. But if there's a Cinderella story in the Super Motocross season this year, it is that. And man, what a hell of a run for him in Indianapolis. I do believe too he's like a 4-time winner at Indy, so he's the winningest rider that is currently still racing at Indianapolis. So Kickstart Kenny taking a big win there. Let's see if we can pull up as we're online. I should have been more prepared, but I wasn't. I'm going to pull up the current point standings because we probably want to look at these 450 point standings. I mean, so far this year, it's been the Tomac and Cooper Webb show. Sexton's still sitting in there. What is he? 13 points back. Our boy El Hombre, 36 points back on the Cowie. And you got Ken Roczen now sliding into the fifth spot there, 38 points back. So making a move there. Ken Roczen, Kickstart Kenny, into the top 5. The cool thing I'm looking at, though, is check this out. You got the top 6, right? Number 1, KTM. Number 2, Yamaha. Number 3, Honda. Number 4, Cowie. Number 5, Suzuki. Number 6, Gas. And then you got Husqvarna at 8th, and you got Plessier in 7th. So literally, all 7 motorcycle manufacturers are represented in the top 8 in the points championship. How freaking amazing is that? That is awesome. I mean, that's phenomenal. Obviously, some of these probably aren't going to walk away with a win this year, but I mean, 7 manufacturers in the top 8 in point standings, that's freaking unreal. That makes me excited. I am a Supercross fan. You guys know this. Been listening to me for 12 years, and that's freaking phenomenal. I will be on site there in Phoenix. I will be on site at the Nashville Supercross, so definitely looking forward to the upcoming races. We got Detroit, Seattle, Phoenix, Atlanta, New Jersey, Nashville, Colorado, Denver, obviously, and then Salt Lake City. And that's the Supercross line, the Supercross rounds. And we move into the motocross rounds, and then we got the Super Motocross rounds. But I'll be at 2 of the next events, being Phoenix, or Glendale, as they're calling it, and Nashville, Tennessee. So looking forward to getting out there. If you guys are fans of Supercross, you're going to be at any of them, hit me up on social. It's at JimBeaver15. Let me know you're going to be out there, and I would love to come hang out, meet you guys, and I don't know. I'll be throwing down some radio with Kawasaki at some point as well. So just had to talk about Kickstart Kenny before we jump into this Mint 400 talk because, man, oh, man, did that boy throw down. And we all wanted to see it happen this year, regardless of what manufacturer you're a fan of. We all wanted to see Kickstart Kenny take a victory, and it happens. So we'll see what he can do, man. He's making a little charge here in the points, but man, I got to tell you though, we got Webb and Tomac. They're going to be tough to beat this year, that's for sure. But anyways, we are going to take a short commercial break here on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. We come back. We're going to talk Mint 400 with the Mint 400 Kingpin, Matt Martelli, right here on the show when we return. Making the most of every moment can be demanding, which is why at General Tire, we think you should demand more from your tires. For more than a century, we've made great all-around tires that always deliver the right combination of performance, durability, style, and value. Whether you're looking at the ultra-high-performance summer tires for your street rod or the best-in-class all-weather tire for your family crossover, General Tire delivers for those who demand more from their tires. Find your fit at GeneralTire.com. General Tire, the official tire of the Jim Beaver Show.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
Don't just shred your way through any off-road rugged terrain. Get into gear with GSP XTV and let us redefine your adventure. The GSP advantage of quality and performance sets a standard for UTV axles. We strive to provide premium ATV and UTV axles to keep you shreddy ready. Kick up some dirt and get in the driver's seat with GSP XTV. With over 35 years of experience, drive with a company you can trust. Drive with GSP. For more information, please visit us at gspxtv.com today. Like what you're hearing? Do us a favor and head over to Apple Podcasts and rate, review, and subscribe to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki and never miss another show. Welcome back to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki, and I guess we're tag teaming it again with off-road racer and Matt Martelli. Matt, man, MIP 400 in the books. We did the preview show a couple weeks ago. You and I have just spent a week in Las Vegas. I don't know, is the hangover gone yet, buddy, or are you still milking it?
No, man. I'm going to need like a week to sleep, and hopefully my voice will come back, but yeah, what a spectacular week, man. I not only did I not get any sleep, I had a freaking blast, man. We broke literally every single record we had on attendance, on live stream viewership, race entries, everything. This was definitely one for the record books. If you weren't there, man, you definitely missed out.
Well, I've had so many people text me, and I said, like the Mint, there was a window there. Man, I don't know. The Mint's this crazy anomaly, but obviously COVID happened, and it kind of derailed things for a year or two, and it was like we had that December Mint, which, needed to happen, but it was a little weird. I actually had a ton of fun at that event, but it was just a little different. Came back, had the one last year that was the traditional date, and I feel like people were still, it was so close to the other one. It was kind of weird, and I told everybody, I was like, this year the Mint was the biggest one I can remember. And I went to some of those Mints you guys threw that were kind of in the late 2010s that were just massive. But I was like, this one had the big race feel back. The entry list was there. I was like, just Fremont was popping. I was like, this is the Mint that we all remember. I'm like, it felt like the biggest one in a long, long time, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, from all the current data, and we still have data coming in, we broke every single record. I think it's just a testament of like, look, America's back. We're sick and tired of the COVID stuff, of just all the bad news. At the end of the day, what controls this country is the people. And what the people want to do right now is they want to get out and they want to race. They want to have a good time with their families. So, yeah, I was really stoked, really proud of what we achieved this year. And, we've got a lot of momentum coming out of this leading into the California 300. So that's going to be huge as well. But, there's so many moments that, I'm still kind of digesting that were just fantastic, from the qualifying to the racing to Fremont Street to, having the mayor as our grand marshal, lead the parade. And then having, Joe Lombardo, the governor-elect, race with us. That's never happened in the history of the United States. No governor-elect has ever raced, let alone raced an off-road race in a unlimited spec truck. I mean, it was so cool to see that happen.
That's rad. You know what I mean? When you can get when you can get the political figures involved in what you're doing in a positive way, like actually competing. I mean, that's not just somebody coming to a race going, "Yeah, this is cool." I mean, when they get to strap on a helmet and actually get behind the wheel of things, I mean, that not only is good for the Mint 400, that's good for off-road racing in the Las Vegas and Nevada area in general. When you've got that kind of support, like that's huge.
Oh, it's massive, and Joe's been racing with us for years. He's a through and through off-road racer, and I'm excited, because we're going to be able to do things over the coming years that we've never been able to do in history because of the political power that we have. So it's exciting, but the racing was spectacular. The guys who won this year were not the favored guys. It just was really, it's, what I love. It's like, when if this sport ever gets predictable, I'm out. And that's what makes it exciting is you don't know who's going to win.
Yeah, well, that's true. And, I know we'll jump into the results here in a minute, but I want to talk about the entry list first. Not necessarily names on the entry list, just the sheer size of it. Like, I kept going in the weeks leading up, and I'd see more entries. I mean, what was the official count? Because I know it was over 490, which is absurd. That is an absurd amount of people. But, I mean, for just a strictly desert race, what was the exact final tally, Matt?
It was 492 entries and 1,200 racers.
Oh, that's a small city, dude, or a small town, like a 490. I haven't seen a sheer desert race, and Hammers is 2 weeks long, and it's a bunch of different disciplines, things like that. But you know what I mean? Like literally, I mean, Crandon doesn't pull that kind of entries for their Labor Day event. I mean, this is crazy. 490. I can't tell you last time I saw that in a pure desert race. Like that's wow. I mean, that's massive, dude.
No, and what I think it shows you is that people are ready to get back to normal life, and it also there's still a lot of cars sitting out there not being raced. So I really think between car and bike entries we can push this above 1,000 entries. People think I'm crazy, but they're out there.
No, because I know some of the stuff that we won't talk about that you guys have planned. And when you start bringing that in, I mean, you're going to pick up 100 entries here, 100 entries there, And I think this bike race, we've seen more and more entries every year, but I think the motorcycle race at the Mint, like I'm looking at that single track and the event that you laid out and the fact that it's its own unique course. Like I'm looking at that, dude, going that's a sleeper right there, dude. Your motorcycle race, I'm looking at it going, that's a motorcycle race I would want to go race just because the track looks so fun.
Yeah, I mean, look, we really, took ownership of the motorcycle race. We didn't want it to be a motorcycle race happening on a car and truck course. That's not fun. And so fortunately we were able to, get some Jedi help from the folks at Moran and really put on an unbelievable course with a fantastic race. And, I hope to grow it, and we're talking to the factories about throwing some prize money in there to make it more interesting, from a prize purse standpoint. But man, I agree with you. That course, the stuff that we have out on our course, that single track, is pretty spectacular. If you race bikes, you got to come and do this race. I promise you, you will not be disappointed.
Yeah, that's kind of I'm looking at it going, man, like I've never raced a motorcycle before, but I kind of want to go and race that just because it looks so much fun. But I mean, I don't know. You talked about the surprises. I mean, we can start at the top and kind of work our way through, but some of the surprises. I mean, we got to talk about our overall winner. I mean, Eric Harden. What a great race. I mean, we had one of the deepest fields in a long time for unlimited trucks, and and we saw the heavy hitters start just dropping like flies. And that's no slight on Eric Harden, but like I said on the live stream, here's a guy who's been around for a long time. He's had some great results. He's won some smaller races. When we looked at the entry list before the event, he's the guy that we knew, yeah, he could probably slide in, take a podium or top 5. We didn't see him, none of us counted on him walking away with the overall victory. But, man, all day long, his speeds were there with the top guys, and he was just the guy that was able to put it all together. I mean, what a phenomenal run by Harden. And I got to tell you, dude, when he got out of the car or the truck at the end, dude, he was ghost white. He was spent. He let it all out on the track, man, and you got to love seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of my favorite things about the Mint and off-road racing is that, we put on the fight and we don't know what's going to happen. And you look, Eric's one of these guys who's been underrated. He's been, top 5 very consistently, and right there with all the big guys. And he has a lot of experience in circle track and in off-road. So, it's just a matter of time, I felt like, until he got his big win. But this is definitely the biggest win of his career. And, it's gonna make his career, and I'm really happy that it's not always the same guys that win every year, because it shows you, one, the level of competition. And then straight up, I'm going to say this, like, if you're not here racing, it's because you're afraid. The Mint doesn't forgive it. You make a mistake, it's on the live stream, everybody sees it, and you're in the back. Like, you can't really make any mistakes in this race because of how fast the pace is now. And what Eric did was the same strategy that Rob Mack implements, right? He kind of drove conservatively and made sure his equipment was good and just kept a very consistent pace. And as people overdrove and equipment broke and dropped off, he kept picking them off. And in the end, he was there and had a vehicle that was good. And when you look at the split times too, he didn't just win by a couple seconds. He won by 15 minutes. It's been a long time since somebody's won by 15 minutes at the Mint 400.
Yeah, it was just a dominating effort, and like I said, I was looking at his lap times, things like that. Like, he was just right there. You talk about racecraft and you talk about the science of racing, desert racing, and mentally, I mean, he nailed this race. I mean, his approach to it, you look at lap times and things like that, when he picked it up, when he backed it off, just a phenomenal race. And, we got to talk about the overall limited racer too. Another guy that, we all know the name, but probably wasn't a guy that we had picked to run away with this thing, but Joe Tarana, man. And I know he's from Vegas, but dude, he put together a phenomenal 4 laps.
Yeah, he did fantastic. And here's another guy, hasn't been racing very long, but he's been very consistent, and has a fantastic co-driver who's been, schooling him on racecraft, and clearly he's listening, again, another guy that really wasn't picked to win it. You had Blurton, you had, everybody, behind him. You had all the Pro R guys, Steph, there's a lot of guys that I would have picked, and he wasn't one of them. And again, that's what I love about this.
Yeah. So, I mean, just, dude, it was wild. I mean, and I'm just looking at the sheer amount of entries. It's like, I don't even know where to key in on a lot of these classes, but just fields so deep, and it's awesome because we're seeing some guys that, the Mint arguably have made, kind of put them, I don't want to say put them on the map, but definitely taken their programs to another level. I mean, like the Eisenhower brothers, a few years ago, if you didn't know who the Eisenhowers were, it was, probably most people, unless you were kind of really endemic. I've seen the last couple of years, obviously last year, now they were on a beer can. It was like, I was even talking to Nick for quite a while, for about 20, 30 minutes on Friday. And he goes, dude, our careers have exploded. He goes, look, we're on a beer can, man. He goes, this is something like we never expected, but it's like, now they're kind of the buzz, everybody's like, what's the Eisenhowers doing? And I think the Mint in that big victory has probably had a lot to do with it in the last 12 months, man.
Oh, 100%. I mean, for sure the victory at the race is the validator, but we go out of our way once somebody has won, overall and in class, to celebrate them. We put them on T-shirts, we put them on beer cans, we put them on posters. That's our job. We're promoters. We're supposed to, promote the sport, but also celebrate the victors, man. And, I can tell you wholeheartedly, like, there'll be follow-up interviews with these guys on offroadracer.com. We will help make these guys careers. And that's what this is about. We want to expose off-road racing to the world. And part of that is making sure that the champions, their name. It was funny because, our English buddy has a little bit of a pronunciation challenge with some of the names. And, when Harden got to the finish line, I told him, I said, they're going to know how to pronounce your name now.
Yeah. True story. Well, and that's the thing. Like I went online, after I do, whether I'm calling the Mint or calling Crandon or whatever I'm doing, and I go on just so I can kind of hear the feedback, things like that. And it's just funny because it's like everybody was at the race. You don't hear one bad thing from anybody. Dude, everybody was stoked. Like, this is the greatest Mint, high five, awesome, great racing. Like, everybody's stoked. Then you go to the people sitting at home, and they're very critical. And I think maybe part of it's because they're sour that they weren't at the event. But I start reading it, and I'm going, there are some things that could change. But I'm like, they're really, like, if you weren't at the event and you didn't get the feel of it, the big race feel, like, I don't know the basis for the arguments that they're putting up other than, there are a few, there was some stumbles here and there. But like, it happens. It's a race. Even the Indy 500 has those. But I guess the way I'm posing this question is, Matt, as I know you guys, you and Killian and your brother, everybody on the crew, you guys all take everything into consideration. But moving forward with the Mint, I mean, you've grown this. I mean, almost 500 entries. I mean, what's next for the Mint? What can people, expect? Obviously, I know the dates will come out for the 2024 Mint here pretty soon. But what can people expect for the 2024 Mint 400?
Well, we're going to continue to add races. This year we added the Class 11 short course race. That'll be there next year. We'll give people more time to prepare for that. We're going to add some additional races too. So, be prepared to spend a week with us. There's just a lot. There's hold on one second here. I got to ditch this call coming in. Okay. So, there's just a lot, as, back to what you were saying about criticism, happy to take criticism. We know that an event is never perfect. It's always going to be, something that we can tweak and make better. And, probably the one thing that I will admit that we made a mistake on is the race registration. We didn't anticipate the rush of the pit crews, and so everybody stood in line too long. We already got a fix for that. That won't happen again. But all the teams can also help us by making sure those guys are registered online ahead of time, because that'll make things a lot more streamlined. But, again, we're always going to improve, and we're always going to tweak and try things. And, we had some huge successes this year. The first year we brought music to the Midway. That was a huge success. The Formula D relationship, that was a huge success. I don't know if you got to go out there when those guys were doing demos, but it was absolutely bonkers, and it was fun for everybody. I mean, who doesn't like, drifting and burnouts? It's part of the DNA of racing.
Well, and I think that's what I love. Obviously, the Mint's like two parts to me. It's like, and you need to experience both. Like, Fremont Street is phenomenal. This year, the cars actually getting to go under the canopy was so rad. And I know most of the drivers I talked to are like, this is surreal. Even Sierra Romo, she goes, I've grown up in Vegas. And she goes, I never would have thought I'd be driving a car underneath the canopy. It's, she posted a video and it was pretty rad. But so, that's cool. And the whole Fremont experience, you know what I mean? There is amazing. And then you move out to race weekend, and what you guys built out there, and and obviously the bands on stage are near and dear to my heart. I mean, Corinne at Minor Strut just slays it. Our buddy BC Vaught, everybody was up there on the Monster Energy stage. You've got the music going on, got the VIP area, you got the bars, you got Formula Drift, you've got all the vendors, you've got, the racing, you've got, TPQ doing his interviews. Like, dude, it's a festival feel. It's a festival atmosphere. And I think that's what's rad. It's not like, and if you want to get a ticket out on course and go and sit on your tailgate and drink beer, Belching Beaver, by the way, and watch it go, watch cars go by, you can do that. But if you don't and you just want that festival atmosphere, that's available too. And I think that's what the Mint has become, like multiple events all in one. I truly mean that. Like it's so amazing what's been built out there. It's like there's something for everybody. Even if you don't like racing, you can go and still have a good time having drinks and watching bands. It's like, I don't know why anybody wouldn't come to the Mint at this point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, look, we try and make something for everybody, and like we know that if we can get people to the race, that will make them lifers, we'll convert them, right? And so if I can get you to the race because you like drifting, music, VIP, our VIP section, like the food is amazing. Big shout out to Chef Roddy from Flying Pig. He did an amazing job on our food, and all the different sponsors, that were in the VIP area, from Peltzer Wines to Belching Beaver Beer, and also, the whiskey we had in there was incredible. Westland is a new brand to us, but they've been around, and they're one of the only producers of straight, true American whiskey that's every single component of it is grown and made here. So, we've got some really amazing, sponsors, and just an amazing experience. And that's my job. My job is to get people to the Mint, no matter how we do it. Right. And we know, like, once you're there, people will see those trucks jumping 20 feet in the air, and they're converted. I mean, come on, you saw what Tim Herbst did at the start line. I mean, that was some Evel Knievel stuff right there.
Yeah, well, and I know. Let's bring up everybody online's coined it Mint Everest. Let's bring that up, dude, because I was like, I actually loved that jump, and you saw some of the Unlimited Truck guys. They were actually doing. Ricky Johnson was calling it the Bubba Scrub. You know what I mean? And Bubba brought in scrubbing into Supercross, and I was laughing like, dude, it was some of these guys were doing some wicked stuff over Mint Everest, quote unquote. And there was a couple guys who went full send. I kind of loved it because you go off the start line, and if it's a big tabletop, everybody's going to send it. And I loved it because you had some guys risking it early, trying to send it off that, and it worked out for some. Others it didn't. You had some guys laying up, and it was a safe route. I loved it because, from what I understand, everybody knew what it was going into it, and it was just on how you wanted to approach it. You know what I mean? I absolutely loved having that jump there, from one, just a sheer racer standpoint, to a live stream standpoint. And, there were some people critical of it online, and I'm going, man, what are you criticizing? Like, everybody knew what to expect. It was, if you ruin your stuff on lap one, a quarter mile into the race, like, that's on you, man.
Yeah, first off, I learned something about online criticism a long time ago with this little film we made called Gymkhana, when everybody tore us apart because there were multiple marks on the ground, and basically they're calling us out for doing multiple takes. And I was like, look, we never said this was all one take. And those people argued for pages and pages and pages. You know what that translated to? More views.
Yeah.
So bring on the criticism. We're not going to make easy courses. It's just not who we are. It's not what the Mint's about. There's going to be stuff in there, that's tricky, and that's part of even the infield, and that, the Mint Mountain, or we're calling it Magic Mountain, or Space Mountain, right? Joking around, wasn't meant to be a jump. It's a big roller that would slow people down before they got to that corner, because behind that corner is the gas line, right? We didn't want people hitting that. So there's multiple reasons for it. The other one was that, there's a bunch of stuff that we had to bury somewhere, a bunch of trash and stuff in that infield that gets left by other, race leagues. And we had to put that somewhere. So that's where it ended up. But, how bitchin' was the infield this year? It was like the perfect amount of, letting those guys, do some jumps and turns and bumps in front of the spectators, and then getting them out into the race. I got to give a big shout out to Killian and Matt McCall, who does all of our dirt work. He's one of the OGs that's been with us since the early freestyle motocross days, and he'll be there until he's dead, until I'm dead. So he really understands vehicle dynamics and how to build a course that's going to highlight the vehicles. And I think that if you were standing there as a spectator or online, you saw something special. You saw these vehicles perform, at the top of their capabilities. I mean, some of those guys, sending it off those jump. And again, especially the Tim Herbst one where he almost took out our timing gate. I was like, man, like I texted him afterward. I go, number one, how's your back feel? Number two, it's good that at your age, you're still just, you still just got that crazy in you. So, they actually almost won the race last year. So, him and Pat Dean make a hell of a team.
Yeah, they almost, they had a good shot again this year. And that's a program that's a podcast for another day, Matt, because you and I could talk about the Herps and their resurgence and, the race cars they're building. Like, I feel like that's a show you and I and Tim and, hell, we just need to get like Troy and everybody just to sit down at some point because Troy's got Riley doing NASCAR. We need to do like a Herp show, I think, at some point. We just need to sit down with the boys and have literally like a round table of Herps. Like, because that's just that's a whole nother story, I think.
No, they've got, Thor, Riley, and EJ all racing. So we have a whole new generation of Herps coming up. And, yeah, I mean, they're straight up building some of the most badass race vehicles out there. Actually, before I forget, the overall winner was driving an ID Designs truck, so I want to make sure and give them some love. One of our homies here in Vista does those builds and builds, lots of parts for other people. So big shout out to ID Designs.
Yeah, well, and I know BJ's on a similar chassis. I think he's on that ID chassis, and he's got it dialed. Obviously, I think from what I understand, PJ got honestly the bumping and the banging in the stadium course right off the start ended up screwing up an oil line or something on his truck, and that's why he dropped out. I think because was he racing against Harley? I think I can't remember, but there was some bumping and banging early that actually affected BJ's truck, and I think they ended up having an oil issue.
They did have an oil issue, but it wasn't with the line. It wasn't from contact. It was just a faulty part. It actually had cracked and leaked out all of his oil. So I was super bummed because, BJ's been on a roll, and, I thought that this was going to be a good opportunity for him to really get a big win under his belt. But it's all good. He'll be back. He'll be at the next race and be ready to throw down. He's a champion.
Yeah. So speaking of next race, I want to slingshot forward a bit because I was out there for the first one, and it was a rad first year event, and I know the plans for year number 2. Obviously, I know you and your brother. It's full speed ahead. California 300 now. What can we expect in October at the California 300? I'm going to be there. I'm hoping to be there in a brand new Kawasaki race car. So might need to wear 2 hats, Matt. I might need to be the commentator one day and the racer the other. But let's talk about California 300, what fans can expect, because that's the next one that people should have on their calendar.
Yeah, get ready because this is going to be a big year. We got our expanded course. So we're going to open up the course quite a bit. To allow the unlimited vehicles to run at top speed. So we're still going to have some technical stuff in there, just not as much as last time. And really, it's what we'll be running is the old Fireworks 250 course. So I'm really excited about that. Multiple days of racing. The Class 11s will have their own short course race with us as well. So it's going to be another one of those things you're going to want to be out there for, pretty much the entire week, Wednesday through Sunday. We've got some bands lined up that we're going to announce here shortly. So there's going to be music both Friday and Saturday night, and just really lots of new stuff. So the biggest change though too is that we got our 5-year permit that gives us our land closure. So now all the activities will be concentrated down in Barstow, Maine, so we can basically keep everybody together. So really excited about that.
Yeah, and I think that'll be awesome. I think that was one of the biggest things you and I talked about is getting everybody together at Barstow, Maine, and I think that's going to make that event so much bigger. It was already huge, but I think it's going to make it so much bigger. Definitely, I would tell people, get your room reservations now because things are going to sell out, but it's going to be just off the chain, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? That one's really camping. You know, sure, if you want a hotel, there's lots of travel hotels nearby, but, you know, get your tent, get your camper, bring your family, you know, spend some time out there with us, you know, come out and barbecue with us. You know, we're going back to the days of OG desert racing, you know, where you can go out and spectate as long as you stay off the course. So it's going to be really cool. I'm excited about that one. And, you know, excited about, you know, the sharing the course with everybody. We are going to do a ride out there in April so that everybody can go out and have a look at the course and really see the dynamics of the course out there. I think a lot of people don't really know what's out there beyond just the initial Barstow, Maine, which is just rough and rocky. There's a lot of really good terrain out there that's not as brutal as the front section.
Yeah, and you know, in regards to that, I mean, when can people expect some information on the California 300, Matt? Because I know you guys open up entries pretty early too, because it's kind of a first come, first serve in regards to you know, the way you qualify and the way you know, draw orders go, things like that. So when can people kind of expect all this info to start rolling out?
Yeah, you're going to see this quickly. You know, by the end of this month, you'll start seeing information roll out. Because we want to get everybody situated, you know, entry-wise and accommodation-wise. So stuff's going to be happening pretty quick.
Awesome, man. Well, I don't know. I'm still recovering from the Mint 400. I know you and I got a new Kawasaki that I got to get buttoned up called Electra because you and I got a film project to get to with that thing. So I need to get back in the garage and get wrenching on things so you and I can go out and have some fun, man. But it was a great Mint 400, dude. I always appreciate you having me a part of it. Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate, you know, your family has a legacy in off-road, and it's great that, you know, to have the friendship with you, but also, you know, to have people like you and Ricky and Bob and, you know, some of the other guys on the team, George now, Brian Little, Tiffany Stone. I know I'm forgetting people, but, you know, these are people that we hand chose because they're passionate about this culture. You know, it's like they really care about the product that they're producing. It's not just a phone in like, oh, yeah, I'll do it. So we all live and breathe this stuff. So, you know, all I can say is, you know, we're going to keep pushing to grow the sport and this culture, and there's a lot more to come.
Well, I am definitely looking forward to being a part of it. Hopefully I got a new race car and I can do some racing at the Mint. It's been a few years now, and I'm ready to get – I got the itch, dude. I need to get back in the Mint 400 behind the wheel, dude.
Oh, I'm ready to get behind the wheel. I'm ready to go do some free riding and, you know, in the Razor and or the Cowie, you know what I mean? So, yeah, let's go for a ride after this. That's how I blow off steam.
Same here, buddy. Well, always fun, Matt. Thanks for an amazing Mint 400. We'll be back after this on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. When it's time to replace the tires on your vehicle, General Tire delivers the tires you need for both your next big adventure and your daily commute. Whether you need all-season traction, lasting treadwear, or a quiet drive, General Tires are designed to deliver whatever life brings your way. From all-season ultra-high-performance tires for passenger cars and crossovers to extreme all-season mud terrain and tires for light trucks and SUVs, General Tire delivers great performance. To find your ideal tire, visit GeneralTire.com.
We're looking for a
General
new
Tire,
wheel for your
official
off-road
tire
vehicle,
of the
car,
Jim Beaver
truck,
Show.
Or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out VisionWheel.com or @VisionWheel on social media to learn more. Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Life is all about sound. The sound of sports. The sound of the racetrack. And the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Social media? Yeah, that's on lock. It's at Jim Beaver 15 on all major platforms, and hit up at General Tire and at Kawasaki USA while you're there. And we are back right here on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Big thanks to my buddy Matt Martelli with Mad Media in the Mint 400 for coming on the show today, talking all kinds of fun here, and about everything that happened this past weekend. So awesome event. Always appreciate him and his brother Josh for having me out and having me host the live stream. Always good time. So upcoming shows. We got a Supercross special coming up later this week. We've got a couple of Supercross riders that we're going to drop that bonus episode later this week. We've also got, coming up next week, we got Lacey Blair on the show. We got episode number 500. We're also doing a sit-down with Sarah Price and Mitchell Alsup. Sarah coming off a Mint 400 win. Mitchell Alsup, her car builder, also a shredder behind the wheel of a UTV, one of the guys that's helping really move the UTV desert racing industry forward with some of the cars he's building. So we're going to do a sit-down with both of them on the show next week as well. So some big banger blue chip interviews coming up right here on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. So if you're not already, go over to Apple Podcasts, hit the subscribe button. If you love the show, leave a rating and review. Helps us out. For Spotify, subscribe. YouTube. We're going to start doing some video stuff very, very soon with the show, but the shows are all dropping on YouTube regardless. So, go and subscribe across the board. Also at Jim Beaver 15 on social media. So before we leave, couldn't do it without our amazing partners. Obviously, we got General Tire. Don't forget, $70 off, up to $70 rebate on tires right now. Go to the footnotes of the show, hit the link, and get yourself, save yourself $70 off a set of General Tires now through the end of April. We got our good friends at Kawasaki. We've got Vision Wheel, Dirtfish Rally School. I'm actually heading up to Dirtfish Rally School here in a couple of weeks or a week and a half to do some training. Going to be doing like a whole vlog style thing for YouTube. Also doing a radio show up from Dirtfish. So you definitely don't want to miss that. That's going to be a good time as well. If you're in the Seattle area, man, would love to hang out too. Let's go have a drink at a bar somewhere, have a beer, something, have a belching beaver. Speaking of, another one of our partners in the show, our boys at Clean Freak, GSP XTV Axles, Rigid Industries, man. JB25, get you 25% off there at Rigid Industries. And, we've just got some amazing supporters of the show, Gibson Exhaust, iRacing, keeping us doing this each and every week. If you got guest suggestions, hit me up on the social channels, and we'd love to get those people cycling in the show. Like I said, big changes coming to the show here in the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to loop you all in on all of it next week on the show. Until then, hopefully you guys have an amazing weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you next time right here on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. And that's a wrap for this edition of the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Thanks for listening. Be sure and head to Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the show, and follow at Jim Beaver 15, at General Tire, and at Kawasaki USA on social media. Itching for more? JimBeaver15.com has all the latest. We'll see you next time.